Hi there, everybody.
G'day.
Hello.
Hello.
Going.
Welcome aboard Fly Free Australia. It's great to see you all here. This is so new. I'm Mark Carter, one of the Flight Free crew, and your stand-in launch controller. With the launch tonight spread across Australia, I want to first acknowledge the traditional owners of our country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters, and culture, and pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and acknowledge their sovereignty has never been ceded. Okay, tonight we're launching a campaign to cut aviation emissions all across Australia, and we really appreciate your interest and support. First up, and to let you know a bit about the Flight Free Pledge, I want to hand over to Annabelle from our crew in Brisbane. Over to you, Annabelle.
Thanks, Mark. Hi everyone, it's great to see you all here with us tonight, and on behalf of Flight Free Australia, I'd like to thank you for joining us. It was in June this year that our group first met to discuss Flight Free Australia, and we came together out of a deep concern for the climate and also a recognition that aviation emissions were not being given the attention we thought they deserved within the climate movement. And we also took the opportunity to feed off the momentum gained by the Flight Free movement in 10 other countries, where thousands of people have already pledged to have a flight-free year. Recently, in preparation for this launch, we've been meeting weekly, and our group is spread across 4 different states across Australia. We've done all of our organising face-to-face via Zoom. And our first campaign kicks off tonight. It's called Flight Free 2020, and we're asking Australians to pledge to have a whole year without getting on a plane. So to make the pledge, you can go to our website, flightfree.net.au, and look for the big pink button. And from there, the process is really straightforward. So we're excited to see what new travel stories come from your flight-free year, and also hear about some of the heated debates that you might have with your friends and family over your decision. Because this campaign, it's only partly about reducing our individual and collective emissions. It's also about starting conversations, and sometimes they might be difficult conversations. But when we refuse to keep flying because of the impact on the climate, it sends a powerful message about the seriousness of the situation to those around us. And our website also has tons of information on aviation emissions and links to the international networks which we're a part of. And you can also follow us on Facebook if you're that way inclined. Look for Flight Free Australia. And finally, I hope you all enjoy the launch tonight. Back to you, Mark.
Thanks, Annabelle. We're now going to hear from Charlie from the West Australian Band and Flight Free Early Adopters Formidable Vegetable.
G'day.
Charlie, how are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. A little bit chilly here in southwest WA, but it's great snail weather, so my friend here is feeling right at home.
I thought I'd kick off by asking you about the band, your and the band's flying arrangements. I've heard that you got an invitation for a gig at Glastonbury, which for any band must be a highlight. But is it true you turned that down because you don't fly?
Yeah, look, we were supposed to play Glastonbury this year, but back in February after touring New Zealand, I witnessed the South Island of New Zealand pretty much on fire after a record-breaking heat wave, and then got home to the news of Tasmania and Victoria also being on fire, and then news of WA also being on fire, and it just kind of all hit home at once. And I just read the 1.5 degree report from the IPCC, which basically, as you know, said that we've got 12 years or 11 years now to keep our warming under 1.5 degrees or risk catastrophic consequences. So yeah, I just took the decision then to just put a cancellation on the European tour, and told the band I was going to stay at home. So yeah, it was a bit of a big decision. We have played Glastonbury before, and we did it in 2013, 14, and 15, and it was amazing, like such an epic experience. But I just thought, you know what, I just can't keep justifying the excessive amounts of travel when half of our songs are about climate change and permaculture and, you know, mitigating this stuff. So, you know, small steps to not being a hypocrite, but it's it's a long journey.
Thank you. Yeah, all power to you.
Thanks.
And if any of you want to more of the band's music, you can go to formidablevegetable.com.au, I think is the URL. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, that's right. This is really good to hear, and it's great to see, you know, like a coordinated national effort to sort of do some grassroots action, because, you know, in a lot of respects, we can't wait around for the government to change. We have to start taking action. And that's what a lot of my songs are about. And for me, permaculture is a great option for actually living these ethics in our daily lives. And I'm gonna take a bit of inspiration from old mate here, my little buddy, the snail, that's just sort of popped up here in the community garden in Pemberton. And I'd like to play you a song that I don't often play, actually. I should play this one more often. It's about the principle of using small and slow solutions, which applies to everything from travel to, you know, where we get our food, and you know, reducing food miles is also a big part of it as well. So I think a community garden's a pretty appropriate place to play it. But I also just wanted to add that the decision to stop flying, for me, is actually the positives have outweighed the negatives in so many different respects, because I was finding that, you know, touring around the world and just flying everywhere for work wasn't giving me the space to actually just live an enjoyable life. You know, it was one thing after another, after another, after another, and it really grinds your mental health down after a while. And I think having cheap flights be so readily available is a bit of a misnomer, because, you know, it gives us the freedom to go wherever we want, but actually we can't stop. And some people get in this treadmill of just, you know, having to be here and then having to be there. And when you actually do stop, you find that other opportunities present themselves, and more meaningful opportunities. So I've started doing more work in schools, teaching kids about permaculture and playing music at house concerts and from the back of my waste veggie oil powered truck, which is how I'm now getting around. So, you know, embracing the small and slow solutions, I think, has a lot of extra benefits and side effects than, you know, just the negatives of, I can't fly anymore. Oh, what am I going to do in my life? So this song's called Small and Slow, and it's from my first album called Permaculture, A Rhymer's Manual. Just got to put the mascot back here. There you go. In the future, when we run out of fossil fuel energy, how are we gonna feed everybody and still have enough for you and me? Now life today seems pretty good, sort of like we came out on top. But I wonder how we gonna get down. Gotta be careful we don't drop. Just take it slow. Make it small and slow. To avoid the confusion, use a small and slow solution. Yeah. For instance, in your front yard, you can grow most of your food in a space the size of your driveway. It doesn't have to be huge. Just plant a seed, watch it grow. It'll feed you, just let it go. You don't want the pain, it's too much to maintain, so just stay inside the right size and take it slow. Make it small and slow. Don't need the green revolution when you've got a small and slow solution. Yeah. Oh, but wait a minute. When we quit our oil addiction, how are we gonna get around? Well, I'm coming up with a small and slow solution right now. In this advanced technology I've found. It's called your feet. And they're pretty good for getting from A to B. It takes a bit longer, but your legs come out stronger. And there's lots of nice things to see when you take it slow. Make it small and slow. Don't create no pollution. He's great, isn't he? So use a small and slow solution. Yeah, because bigger isn't always better. And faster doesn't make you stronger. I'll tell you, if we keep going the way we're going, well, we won't be around for much longer. So instead of running towards that brick wall, why not walk instead and save your head? Because the bigger it is, the harder it's gonna fall. So just keep it small and take it slow. Because that dream of unlimited growth, I'm sorry, but that's just a popular delusion. So use a small and slow solution. Yeah. Is it a small and slow solution? Thanks, guys. Thanks to my pal here for the inspiration.
Next up, we're going to hear from Lee Eubank, who's Friends of the Earth's Act on Climate coordinator. Lee, can you tell us how you see Flight Free Australia contributing or adding to broader climate campaigning here?
Sure can. I think it's very exciting to see this, community-led campaign get underway. I think aviation emissions, it really is the missing piece of the puzzle when it comes to responding to climate change. And just to give you a little bit of background so that you know where I'm coming from, I've been working on climate change for over 10 years now, originally at Beyond Zero Emissions, when we put out the Zero Carbon Australia Plan version 1 almost 10 years ago. And I ended up finding my way to Friends of the Earth Melbourne, where I've been involved in a few grassroots campaigns. And the current campaign that I'm working on at the moment is around emissions reductions in the state of Victoria. And, it was only a few months ago I was asked to put in a submission to the Victorian government around the level of ambition that we will take to cutting emissions over the next decade. And aviation just was not included. It's not being accounted for, and it is actually one of the most damaging activities we can do as individuals. It accounts for 2% of global emissions, and that's increasing rapidly. And in terms of Australia, I think it's 12% of our emissions are associated with aviation. So it's a really big chunk, but it's currently not being accounted for. So I think this Flight Free Australia campaign, it's emerging at the right time. Over the next 10 years, we do have to make sure that the emissions from the sector are being accounted for and acted upon. And, there's a really good opportunity to actually, raise the moral question about, what we're doing as individuals, but also to really highlight that, not everyone has the same burden or the same responsibility And what I mean by that, and this has come up in some conversations with Mark, you know, if you look around, you know, the amount of business travel that occurs in this country is crazy. You know, the Melbourne to Sydney air route is, I think it's the third or second busiest domestic air route anywhere on the planet. And I think, you know, this campaign can really drive the conversation about that being a problem and start to, you know, really build the case for governments to invest in alternatives such as, you know, high-speed rail links or hyperloops or whatever the emergent technology is. And also to really, you know, press governments to start that investment in alternative technology. You know, if you were to put a, you know, one of the engines of a plane, if you were to make that an electric engine, that would be a really simple way of trimming down the emissions. But, you know, if aviation is to continue, it will have to be done with clean fuel sources. So there is a really heavy, you know, industrial research kind of project there. And if people in the community aren't talking about it, it's not going to happen. So I really commend all of you for getting together and starting this grassroots campaign. I wish you well, and yeah, you can count on Friends of the Earth Melbourne and FO Australia as a bit of backup.
Fantastic, thanks, Lee. Yeah, we'll be meeting early and often. Okay, so next up we've got. I'd ask you to grab your scissors, and we're heading into the inaugural National Frequent Flyer Card chop-up. We might be doing this annually. While everyone's sharpening their scissors, Helen, tell us a bit about frequent flyer programs, if you can.
Thanks, Mark. Do you know that one Australian frequent flyer rewards program asserts it has almost 13 million members? That's over half our population. And the second frequent flyers award program has just passed 10 million, with many people probably part of both schemes. In 2016, the most recent year for which I have figures, almost 2/3 of Australia's population didn't fly at all. And less than 2% of us, the very frequent flyers, created almost 20% of our domestic aviation emissions. Right now, we see flying as delivering a personal reward rather than a collective penalty for the emissions we have created. So it's not going to be easy to wean ourselves off these programs. However, tonight as a start, I'm about to take a big step, and you're invited to join me. Let's go.
Woo! That's Qantas down the toilet.
And another one.
I didn't bring scissors, but I'm going to chop mine when I get home.
Oh, there. That was a pretty big step. But as Charlie said, we can always walk, cycle, catch a bus, take a train, travel by ferry or boat, and even sail. Yay!
Fantastic. Thanks, Helen. I don't know about you, but after that I feel good. Like we're making progress already. Ready enough for Maya Rosen. Maya started the First Pledge campaign in Sweden a couple of years ago, and has now inspired campaigns in 7 or 8 other countries, plus now Australia. And we've asked her to officially launch this thing. Over to you, Maya.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Maya Rosen and I'm the founder of the Flight Free campaign here in Sweden. I've been working full-time for over a year now, trying to convince people to try a flight-free year. And the most important things I've learned is that most people aren't aware of how serious the climate crisis is, and they're also not aware of how huge the climate impact from flying really is. But I've also learned, and I think this is the most important part, that a lot of people are actually willing to change their lifestyle when they realize what is at stake and also the importance of their own actions. Because giving up flying or trying a flight-free year is about so much more than the emissions that you will personally save. A much bigger effect lies in how this decision will affect those around you. Because when others realize that someone is actually willing to make a sacrifice, and giving up flying is for many people a huge sacrifice, that's a great way to make others wake up and understand that we can't keep living the way we do today. And something that's really interesting is that people at first feel that taking a flight-free year seems like a huge sacrifice. But once the decision is made, most people think of it as something really positive, something that they are proud of, and instead they appreciate everything that they actually can do without harming the climate. So I've met a lot of people who hesitated to apply for a flight-free year at first, but now have decided not to fly at all until we've solved the climate crisis. So I think it's about breaking a habit, and a flight-free year is such a great way to start. So I'm so excited that the flight-free campaign is now spreading all over the world and that it's starting now in Australia. And I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to now officially launch the Flight-Free Australia campaign. And I wish you all the best of luck. Bye-bye.
Maya is so good. Okay, it's taken us some work, but now we've officially taken off. Hey, but we're staying on the ground. So we hope you'll spread the word and stay on board in the weeks and months to come. Before we wind up, I want to thank our flight deck controller, Nick, for getting us through tonight, and give huge thanks to Maya and Charlie and Lee and all of you for making tonight a success. So finally, I'd ask you to please exit through the pledge form at flightfree.net.au. And thanks for choosing Flight Free. We look forward to seeing you again. Bye for now.